2020 is finally over. Who could have imagined that by March, most of our cities would be in lockdown? Restaurants and small businesses were forced to close, and even those with seemingly stable jobs got let go. Now, nearly 9 months later, not much has changed. Many of us are unable to be with our families over the holidays and stick to our traditions. But this video isn't meant to talk about all the negative impact that this pandemic has had on our society and our communities. Looking back at the year, I think I've found the silver lining to a lot of what's happened. In some ways, I hope that this situation has actually made us reevaluate what's really important in our lives. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say that I've been extremely lucky given the circumstances, and by no means want to downplay how difficult and tragic this year has been for many. However, I do hope to shed some positivity based on my own experiences and share some of the thoughts that have kept me optimistic throughout the year, and hope that it helps at least one of you out there find some solace in the midst of everything that is going on around us. It's forced us to reminisce and really appreciate all the relationships we have in our lives, whether that be spending time with our friends, visiting family, or even going to work. We've had to rely on virtual means to stay connected, which is nothing new. But I felt that our society had become addicted to social media even before all of this, and was starting to lose touch with the importance and value of real-life interactions. If you haven't already, I highly recommend giving the movie Social Dilemma a watch. It really provides a reality check in terms of the repercussions of our addiction to the dopamine hits that social media provides us, and how they were designed to do just that. As Chamath Palihapitiya, an ex-growth manager at Facebook, has said, "I think we've created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works." But I think we'll all start to reevaluate and reprioritize seeing and spending time with those that we care about as we come out of this whole situation. Because when the luxury of choice is taken away from us, we start to be reminded of just how important these things are, and in this case, it's our relationships. And although it may not be the case for everyone, some families have been able to spend a lot more time together this year. Despite many young parents complaining about the stresses of having their kids at home while they're working, I know that in a few years' time, they'll look back and realize just how precious this extra time spent together was. An article called The Tail End by Tim Urban highlights that by the time we're in our 20s or 30s, most of us have already spent more than 90% of the total time we have with our family and old friends out of our entire lives. Assuming we see our parents for only 10 days a year for the next 30 years, that only gives us 300 more days left with them. It's simple math, but seeing that laid out made me realize just how short our lives are and how limited the time we have left with those we care about can be. So for those of us who were fortunate enough to be at home with family, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get some extra time with them. And for those who couldn't, reaching out and catching up virtually has never been more normalized. Another huge shift I saw was in our consumption habits. We're living in a society built upon mass consumption, where fashion, tech, and other trends pop up left and right, and people feel the need to constantly accumulate new items just to keep up. This has led to the idea that if I just had that one thing, I'd be happy. But it's never the case, because oftentimes the motivation for wanting to own certain things comes from an inherent desire to keep up with appearances and to uphold this persona that we put out in the world and think that others expect from us. Now that we're stuck at home, we're forced to face all the things we've accumulated, which has resulted in a decluttering journey for quite a few people that I've talked to. But more importantly, I think that it has also been a forcing mechanism for people to look at their own consumption habits and reevaluate how they've gone to this point. Consumption worldwide dropped significantly for about 6 months, and I think in some ways that was a good thing. Maybe not so much for the economy, but for an environment and for the personal finances of many. Credit card debt is a serious issue we're facing. and the average Canadian with a credit card debt owes nearly $9,000. Now, I understand that everyone's situation is different, but I do believe that a reduction in consumption, or at least a shift towards more mindful consumption, will be instrumental in getting everyone back on their feet into a better financial situation. On the environmental side, studies have shown that this situation has reduced our fossil fuel emissions, pollution, and accelerated ecological restoration. This was the first dip we've seen in emissions in the past decade, despite politicians consistently talking about efforts to prevent climate change. And although this reduction is not sustainable, I hope that all of us have become more aware of the past consumption habits we've unconsciously developed and the impact that each of us as individuals can have on our environment. With all the restrictions and lockdowns, the one thing that all of us seemed to have in common was spending more time outdoors. For many of us, working from home has made it difficult to disconnect from the work that we do, which personally has led to burning out and just consistently feeling stressed. However, the one thing that never fails to put my mind at ease is just going outside and enjoying the tranquility of our nature. Right now, I'm back in Victoria, BC, where I have the luxury of being surrounded by the ocean and the mountains. Having lived here for almost 10 years when I was younger, I realized that I've really taken all of this for granted. I'm thankful that I've been able to rediscover my appreciation for it all, and I'd like to think that many others have as well. I don't think I've ever seen as many people at the parks or hiking trails as I have in the past few months, and I think it's important for us to build back this connection with the world outside of our homes and our devices. The more disconnected we are from nature, the more likely we are to lose touch with just how interconnected and reliant we are on its well-being. And our impact as collective individuals spans beyond the environment. It's been amazing to see the resilience of our communities in supporting local businesses. Restaurants, bars, and breweries have seen a huge hit, but I've also seen them come together and support each other as much as possible. People in the community are speaking up, urging others to support local versus always going to these big box stores like Walmart, Amazon, and Costco. These companies are becoming larger and larger monopolies because of their convenience and competitive pricing, but ultimately small businesses are the backbone of our society. Not only do they give our communities character, they support the local economy and oftentimes create their products in more sustainable manners. I've also seen friends and coworkers take things into their own hands by starting a side hustle, working on a passion project, or committing full time to building their own business in something that they're passionate about. It's amazing to see that their work is now recognized and out there for the world to see. In some ways, I hope that this has inspired people to do work that aligns with their passions and build something up that they actually believe in, versus feeling like they have to trade that off for a quote-unquote stable 9-to-5 job. Anyways, this was just a stream of consciousness and some ideas that have gone through my mind in the past couple of months that I just wanted to share. My heart goes out to everyone who's been negatively impacted by the pandemic. I just hope that we can take some of this positive energy and these perspectives to make 2021 a better year for everyone. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. I'm not sure how you did it, but stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully I'll catch you soon.